Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Monday, February 26, 2018, at 6:30 p.m. Time for the Selectmen's meeting. The first order of business, as always, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 2 is acceptance of minutes. I have the minutes of February 5th, 2018. Mr. Siganovich.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of February 5th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich, seconded by Mr. Ruda, thirded by Mr. Joseph. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, so we have some appointments tonight, but before we get started with that, I wanted to, let's all have a moment of silence for what happened in Florida a few days ago at the Parkland School. You know, as we're in a conversation about improving our schools, it's that time of year, and I just think it's important that we just pause for a minute and have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we, again, like I said, we have some appointments, some police reserve officers. Chief, want to come on up? We have Paige Morris. Is Paige here? Come on up, Paige. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, before you is Miss Paige Morrows. Paige had taken our last exam about 2 months ago. You appointed her back in December, I believe it was, as a conditional appointment. So she has completed all of her necessary requirements at this point, and we'd be happy to welcome her aboard. She's our first female officer since Pam Daniels had retired, and so we're looking forward to her doing a great job. I think she'll be an excellent candidate. So I'd recommend Paige for that position of reserve police officer. Term to expire on December 31st of this year, and that's when all of them will expire at the same time.
Great. Mr. Joseph?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask that the chief reiterate the process one goes to reach this point for those who don't know?
Sure. Well, at this point, we held an exam back in October, and so then some of the requirements at that point is you have to complete at least the basic reserve intermittent academy, which I believe is around 400 hours of training time. Then on top of that, you must pass your physical. We send them for a psychological evaluation. I think she passed, and then then there's a strength and agility test that they have to take that's monitored by the state, and then also complete the background investigation. So she met all the requirements at this point, and I think she'll be a great candidate.
Thanks, Chief.
Good.
Explaining that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody have any questions for Chief or Paige? Or Paige, you want to tell us a little about yourself and what you're excited about the role?
I am. I grew up in this town, so I'm very excited to serve this community. I look forward to it.
Excellent. Board members?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Siganovich.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Paige Morrows, Police Reserve Officer, with a term to expire 12/31/2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Chief.
All right, congratulations.
Okay, thanks. And Chief, why don't you stay there? Yeah. Oh, you want to get Debbie? You want to do a picture?
Would you like to do?
Well, just for the paper, you know, it's a momentous occasion, I think,
Absolutely.
like you said. So.
Where do you want to go? Up here?
Oh yeah, if you want to do, yeah, whatever you want.
Am I good?
Oh, yeah, it's good now. Just
Paige, come on up, say hi. Congratulations. Good to have you here.
Congratulations.
Pleasure. Good luck.
Don't worry. People see us enough.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. All right, Paige, thanks, Chief. All right, next up, we have another police reserve officer, Chief Shane DiDonato, who just left us to take another role.
Yes, Shane has left to go to a position at National Grid, so we're sorry to see him leave. He did a great job for us throughout his term. We wish him all the best in what he's going to go to. and he still could be a valuable asset to us in some capacity. So you'll be, excuse me, accepting his letter of resignation coming up shortly, but I would just ask that he be appointed as one of our retired reserve officers. What they do basically is work outside details and there for emergency purposes. So they're not considered part of our list to come up back onto full-time, but they're still being able to serve in a capacity that can help us out. And with his experience and education and everything, he'd be a valuable asset to us. So that asset should make him a retired reserve officer.
I agree. Board members?
Yep.
I think I think Shane Dean is becoming a reappointment tradition here in town. So I'm happy to appoint him move to appoint him effective February 15th, 2018, to the position of retired reserve officer.
Motion by Mr. Ruda.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion?
And thank him for his service.
Yes, yes, thank you for his service. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you, Shane. Chief, we have a student officer, James Master Giovanni. He's here.
Yes, as I had discussed with the board back a little while ago, we put our appointment process together through the reserve force as usual. James was the only candidate who put in for the position at this point. He's been serving with us for a few years now. He's done a great job. He was a finalist for our last appointment when we appointed Tyler Smith. So he's done a tremendous job for us for the last few years that he's been here. I think he's excited about the opportunity. So what I'm asking the board to do is appoint him as a student officer effective April 1st. And at that point, he'll be attending the police academy. He'll be scheduled to attend the academy out in New Braintree, which is a state police combined municipal academy. And once he completes that, which I believe is in October, beginning part of October, I'll then come back to the board for a formal appointment for him as a full-time officer to replace Shane DiDonato. So I would just ask that the board appoint him effective April 1st as a student officer for the purposes of attending the police academy.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Ruda.
Second.
Second by Mr. Joseph. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Welcome, James, again.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
good. Anything you want to say to everybody in the audience, a little about yourself and what you're looking to do?
I'd like to thank the board and thank the chief. As he said, I've been here about 3 years now. I've grown to love the community. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I look forward to staying here and serving Dudley.
Great. Glad to
It's a
have you.
good department, Jim.
Yes,
Wonderful department.
Very good department.
great. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, and we have a couple of personnel board appointments tonight. Lorna Wade, chairman's here. Lorna, want to come up? She's looking to request a familiar face to many of you and certainly us on the board, Mr.
Yes, I'm here to request
Peter
that
E.
the...
Fox.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
I'm here to request that the board place Peter Fox from an alternate position on the personnel board to a full-time position on the personnel board due to a vacancy.
Is that the best you could find?
I'm sorry.
Is that the best you could find?
Actually, Peter has been invaluable. He has so much information that he's been able to offer the board and provide me with information with his experience. So yes, he is the best I think we can find.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, glad to see Peter. I knew you couldn't stay away for long. I know you've been helping. Now you just gotta, what is that, every time that you try to get out, they keep pulling you back in, right?
Welcome back, Peter.
Board members?
Yeah, I'm going to move that we appoint, upon the recommendation of the Personnel Board Chairman, I'm going to move that we appoint Peter Fox to be a full member of the Personnel Board, effective this date, with a term to expire June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by
Is that
Mr.
fast enough,
Sigenovich. Thirded by me, and I'm sure fourth by Jay, and fifth by Sully if he was here. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you, Peter. Anything you want to?
Thank you very much for
Everybody?
your support.
Of course, always. All right. Thank you, Peter. And we have one more, Lorna. Lorna also has Joan Gardecki, another familiar
Exactly.
face.
Yes, and I'm asking that the Board of Selectmen appoint Joan as an alternate to our board of the Personnel Board. I think that Joan is an excellent candidate. She served as our clerk and secretary, and I think she came forward immediately and wanted to volunteer, and I would hope that you would consider that appointment.
I'm going to move that we make that appointment.
Okay.
And note that I don't think there's anybody in town, with maybe the exception of Peter, who knows more about the personnel and the workings of the town than Joan does.
Exactly.
And it's just good to have you back.
Thank you.
That's good. That's good. I think you served with Joan when you were on the Personnel Board a billion years
Was
ago.
under Shirley Killian, yep,
Yep, that was a long time ago.
it was.
Okay, all right. Well, let's put it in stone. Mr. Joseph? you wanna-
I'm going to move that we appoint Joan Gardecki as an alternate to the Personnel Board on the recommendation of the Personnel Board Chairman, with a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Kerry had stepped out. Missed that vote.
So now you realize that your committee's loaded.
Yes, I do. And I'm most appreciative that you took action this evening. I appreciate your looking into this for us. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was great.
Thanks,
you.
Joan.
Good. Thank you, Joan. Good to have you back.
I miss the people and I miss being part of the town.
Now it's good to have you
Welcome
back.
back.
Let me
Welcome
tell you.
back. Well, you know how it is. You gotta keep pulling your back. All right.
Mr. Chairman, under resignations, I'm
Mr.
going to
Joseph.
move that we accept the resignation as a regular police officer from Shane D. Donato, effective February 15th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Shane, and welcome, Shane. Okay, 3-0, Michelle. All right, item 5, public comments. Is there anybody here who would like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Nope, I don't see anybody. All right. Town administrators report. Greg?
Thanks,
you.
thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just to report to the board, we received the town's fiscal 2019 Chapter 90 allocation. Chapter 90 is money that the state awards Dudley and every other town in the state. It's a portion based upon the town's road miles, which are about 83 miles, and our population. So the amount that we expect to receive in fiscal year 2019 is $432,505, and that will be expended under Mr. Guyon's leadership and direction in terms of repair and reconstruction of town roads. It's not for maintenance purposes. It's interesting, just a quick note, is when I looked at what we received for this fiscal year, it's about $1,000 less. So we received $433,539, and the amount that for next year again is $432,505. Just a quick analysis going back a couple of years. It looks as though the amount that the town is receiving is shrinking, so it's consistent with the fact that we're being asked to do more with less. It's not shrinking remarkably, about $4,600 over the last 3 or 4 years. The number keeps going down. Yet the number of road miles that we have is fairly consistent. And I'm guessing it doesn't single out Dudley in any way,
That was my question.
but it's indicative of the fact that just there's less to go around.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you. And I'll come back and speak on item 10F, which is the LED street lighting conversion later
Okay.
on in the meeting.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Well, item 7 is around town, focusing on local businesses. This is usually a fun segment we have. Mr. Joseph asked me to, let's talk about Sully's first. So John and Laurie Sullivan are here. Come on up, guys. And,
Hello?
how are you guys?
Evening.
Just saw you guys.
I know. We should have brought hot dogs for everyone.
See that? Right?
We're
Oh, we
close.
should- okay. Go ahead, Paul.
You know, something we started quite a while ago was to recognize people when we catch them doing something right. And later on, right after you guys, we'll be doing that with a couple of the school organizations. But when a hot dog place, for which there are many hot dog places around Worcester County, when one in Dudley wins as the top vote getter in the Worcester Hot Dog Safari, that reminds people that Dudley is a good place to live. And if you've never been to Sully's Hot Dogs, shame on you. They have a lot of really creative dogs, and they're always changing things with their dog of the month. But Laurie also does, and I think John does too, makes some phenomenal Polish food. And they have their weekend breakfasts that I'm told equals anything around. That's why it's always crowded. So we're proud to catch Sully's doing something right. Laurie, John, we appreciate that and we want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, that's very nice.
Thank you.
Awesome, we appreciate it.
Well, the floor is yours. What would you guys like to tell everybody at home? And
We were just very happy to be asked to be in the hot dog safari this year. The people from Worcester that have organized it about 10 years ago do it as a fundraiser for the Worcester County Food Bank and the American Red Cross. And we were approached, and we didn't have to think twice about it. We just said, yes, let's get in. And the only thing that we missed on the safari was the after party at Ralph's Chadwick Square Diner, where they had a dunk tank, I'm told, full of used hot dog steamer water. Now, it wouldn't be from Sully's because we don't steam anything. Everything is grilled. But maybe next year we'll make it to the party. But it was a great day.
It's crazy, busy,
Crazy.
crazy,
We had a
excellent.
lot of fun, and they raised over $3,500, of which $2,500 went to the food bank and $1,000 went to the Red Cross.
Okay, shut up. A lot of your faces we see at the shack, and that's great, we appreciate it. But I'm still amazed after 8 years, March 1st, that I will get customers in that say, I didn't even know you were here.
And then when I ask
They
them where
live
do you
in
live,
Dudley. We live
They
in,
live
oh,
around the
right around the
corner.
corner. Or a phone call. Do you do large dogs? Do I do what to them? We eat dogs, we don't bathe them. So that's always funny, still, after 8 years.
we do.
It's all fun. If it's not fun, it's not worth it.
It's great. Dudley's a great town to do business in. Board of Selectmen, every department that we deal with, whether it's the police and the fire department, who are all fantastic customers of ours, and every other board. It's just a great town. And wish we lived here too, but we don't. We just over the border.
I'm supposed to tell them that.
Everybody knows.
we know.
But yeah, we appreciate your recognition. That's awesome. That
Thank you.
means a lot to us.
Thank you very much.
Keep up
Thanks
the
for
good
your
work.
Appreciate you being in
support.
town.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your support.
Having a nice place to go eat and in Dudley is important to all
It
of
is
us.
great. It is good. We are good.
Anybody have anything for John and Laurie?
I'm thrilled.
What's the latest dog on the menu?
Well, we start March, that's gonna be the hash dog, and it will be, a grilled canned hot dog topped with Sully's homemade corned beef hash in a toasted bun. And the pancake of the month will be a pineapple upside down cake. And it will be a pancake, a buttermilk pancake with pineapple and maraschino cherry. Delicious. Awesome.
One of my favorite dogs is coming in April, the bunny poop dog.
Bunny
The
poop.
what?
What's on?
The bunny poop dog. Because at Easter time, bunnies lay eggs, you know the Cadbury commercial? Well, we take real eggs, make them into egg salad, and put them on top of the hot dog. And if you've never had a hot dog with egg salad on it, you're missing out on something.
Pretty
It's
good.
Oh,
Really, really good.
I
Bunny
hadn't
poop.
thought of doing that.
Yeah.
you guys are creative and good.
So where are you guys located? How do people come see you?
I'm sorry?
Where are you located? Wherever, so tell everybody where you are.
We are in the beautiful town of Dudley, Massachusetts, 184 West Main Street.
Right after Cumberland Farms, just across from
Across
McGee
from
Toyota.
McGee Toyota.
Right across from the Toyota dealership.
And what time do you serve weekend breakfast?
7 to noon, Saturday and Sunday. And then we break to lunch, till 3, both days.
Excellent. Thank you, you guys.
Guys, thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Keep it up.
You all.
We'll see you
Thanks.
soon.
Have a great evening.
Thank
You
you.
guys too. Dudley celebrates its small businesses, indeed. All right. So now we have the Shepherd Hill Show Choir and band directors, Becky Bussiere and Dave McCouga. They want to come on up. Paul, you want to? Catching more people doing more good things, right?
We try.
Yeah. Good, Paul.
Hey, Becky.
How you doing? Long time
Good,
no see.
how are you?
Good, good.
Dave,
How are you?
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that Connie Galley, when she started Fantasy,
I was in it.
I know you were, that first year, we went down to Tucker. My son Tucker was in
yeah.
there. He's now out in Colorado. They got invited to perform at, was it Epcot? It was at Epcot and I think SeaWorld, right? And we had 2 or 3 cars of kids. And wanting to be part of it, I agreed to volunteer to escort them. One of the major mistakes of my life. Got no sleep. The kids couldn't sleep, so I did the best thing I could. I taught them how to play poker. And Connie really appreciated that.
I bet she did.
Only the kids were broke when they got there.
Life
That
skills,
very
life skills.
first year, the destiny of the show choir, which is now expanded to how many different show choirs?
3.
3. That destiny was set that year. And I think it was under Greg, who was the band director at the time, that the band began to cause people to sit up and take notice. And I, for one, am disappointed. Huh?
What?
I'm disappointed when I don't know about and aren't given the opportunity to buy tickets to band and show choir programs, because they are enjoyable, educational, live entertainment that exceeds anything you would expect from a high school. All right? And even though I know Mr. Desto has nothing to do with these, all right, I know he's also proud, as we are. And I'd like you to acknowledge the most recent accomplishments that you've gotten for those people who don't know just how superior both programs are.
Want me to go first? Sure.
You can go first.
I'll go first. She told me I had to go first. I listened to her. We share an office. She's the boss. Not necessarily, but most of the time. The marching band this fall, actually, this was the 11th year that we went down to U.S. Band Nationals. And a little history, the first year that they went in 2006, we were in a division, well, I won't go, we won a national championship our first year in 2006, and then we moved up a division. And the last time we won was actually 2 years ago under the directorship of James Flynn, who's now at Charlton Middle School. And actually 2006 was Cindy Snow, and she's down at Dudley Middle School. And then this is the third time this past year that we won a national title, and that was in Division II Open. So the first year, I believe, was Division 3A, and then we moved up to Open Class, and that same title in 2015 was the Open Class, and then this year was Open Class as well. So there was a lot of hard work goes into it, a lot of time. Those kids start in May, Tuesdays and Thursdays after schools in May, with adding in the middle school kids, the kids who are coming up to the high school. And we rehearse them 2 days a week before school gets out, and then 2 days a week in June, and then 1 day a week in July, and then we have band camp in August, and then upwards to about 12 hours a week during the fall. So it's like a part-time job for them, and but they love it. That's why they do it. That's why they keep coming back. The competition is one thing, but kind of the family that we try to create is also very, very important. So that was the success of that group this past fall. And recently, in the past few weekends, our winter percussion and winter color guards have been performing in Winter Guard International, which they have a regional show in Salem, New Hampshire, and the color guard came in third place, which is the last time we went to that regional was 2 years ago, where they came in last out of 12, and the growth that they've had in 2 years has been incredible under the directorship of Julie Brown, and they came in third 2 weekends ago. And then this past weekend, the winter percussion made their debut, and they came in third place at Dartmouth High School. And we continue to chug along and keep on pushing those kids to new levels and teach them how to be good human beings. And I know Becky has a lot to say about the choirs.
Awesome.
Before you start, Becky.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Am I got this right, Dave?
Yep.
The band has won 3, pay attention, kid. The band has won 3 national titles.
Yes.
Now, I know if we win a district or a clock tournament, that they get a banner. So where are your banners for the 3 national band titles?
They are, they need to be, they are not, you want them on the flagpole underneath outside the town hall? No, I'm kidding. We have them, they need to be,
Flame retardant.
they need to have flame retardant put on them, but we have them on poles, and we actually brought them along in the a Uxbridge Christmas parade that we should have brought to the Christmas tree lighting. We should have put them right up next to us.
As long as you're promoting it,
Oh yeah,
okay?
you got it.
Thank you.
Maybe we put a sign on West Main or something like that. Maybe we put a sign on West Main or something like we did for all the...
The
I
Little
think-
League.
Yeah,
They
that was
had
a
some
hint
good things.
to
Yeah, it's
Greg
good
and to
sign.
Greg to maybe do something when our...
They had plenty of things. The police and the fire department met them at the town line and brought them in.
As we were driving in, we
Oh,
had,
you know, it would be nice if we acknowledged, like, the road signs that we do for when the girls and boys Little League teams won,
That's what I
and
was
we
just
had those
thinking.
put in the side of the road, and John just reminded me. That's something that you should think about near the line, bragging about what we do. Plus, it'll give other groups that come in, when they come in for competitions we host, it'll give them an inferiority complex, which is not a bad thing.
I agree. Second.
Speaking of which,
That's what you say, right? Yeah.
I think Mr. Tatro does an excellent job keeping us informed about
He does a good job.
choir and show
Yeah,
choir
for a rookie,
events.
he does.
Well, he does a great job.
You about to assign him something, a
Thank you for
task?
speaking on my behalf,
Oh, no,
Mr. Rubin. I was thinking.
Like you need it.
So, I mean, as the police and fire are always happy to, when they win one of their, it's not like it's old hat, but it's starting to
do do
become
a good
routine.
Yeah, they met us
When
last year too, when we
championships.
came back from
Yeah,
our
and
clean sweep.
So can we let
it's
Becky talk
definitely a
now?
source of town pride.
Yeah.
What?
Paul wants to let Becky talk. Go ahead, Becky.
Ready, Beck?
I'm ready.
Paul's ready to move on.
Second the motion. You know, we have a really great music department, and I think part of it is because we're all alumni. We were all trained there, both of us, and our staff, basically all alumni. And the family never leaves. When Mrs. Galley said you have show choir Wednesdays for the rest of your life, she meant it. So 35 years later, 25 years later, I'm still show choir Wednesdays. We just hit our stride. We're just going into competition season now. Last year, we had a phenomenal season. Illusion was a clean sweep all across the country. And the Booster Club recognized us with T-shirts. We had all special awards, and the town met us, the fire department and the police met us when we came back last year. Where were we? Virginia. We were in Virginia at Clover Hill. I believe all the Shepherd Hill choirs won everything, including the People's Choice Award there. We are constantly pushing the envelope with our shows, and we are the standard. We really are the standard for New England. And we are nationally recognized. We will be leaving March 15th through the 18th to attend Fairfield Crystal Classic in Ohio. While we are there, before we get there, the Mystique, the girls a cappella choir, will be singing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You had to go through an audition for that, and so we'll be stopping there first.
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland,
Cool.
yep. And then the girls group, Illusion and Fantasy, will perform and compete against, was it 25 other, it's a huge competition. It's the best show choir competition in America. We hope that Central Mass will become that next year, once I figure out why it's so great when I get there. We just, in addition to the show choirs in the fall, the concert choirs and the chamber choirs, all the groups that don't dance, performed at Mechanics Hall with the Worcester Youth Orchestra. And that was a pretty phenomenal experience because people all over the world want to perform there, and we got to do it, and it was really cool. And then we had the Christmas Spectacular with all the groups, and now we are into competition with show choir. It started in Lowell, January 13th. Illusion was grand champion of the unisex division with best female soloist, best pit band, best everything. Fantasy came in second.
Yep.
Second with a gold medal with best female soloist, I believe.
That was just a fantastic. I think that was just.
I don't know, we won something. And then we had our festival, which was amazing. We had so many groups here, and everybody loves coming to Dudley. We're like the big hug. The big hug of the show choir world. And we had tons of groups, tons of people. Our music parents really did a fine job and made everybody happy. The judges we had were nationally recognized, like the people who invented show choir were our judges this year, and they couldn't stop talking about how awesome Dudley and our school was. So they were really happy about that. We just went to Tantascwa a couple weeks ago. Illusion was grand champion, got best female soloist, best vocals. T-Tones, which is the boys group, doing a Ninja Turtle show. They came in second. Jared's a Ninja Turtle. It's a fun group. It's a bunch of guys eating pizza on stage, acting like turtles.
Was it due to him at all?
What?
Was it any problems due to him?
No.
Okay, just checking.
He's in charge of most of it. And then Fantasy came in second by 4 points with a gold medal, best female soloist, best pit band. So we're constantly, at the top of our game. And they work very hard. They're always at a rehearsal. When I'm not at a rehearsal, he's at a rehearsal. We alternate days, and we're pretty much there every vacation, every weekend, every night. It's really hard to get in the auditorium because we're always in it. But it's balanced. We make sure the kids focus on growing and, the love of music and making sure that their grades are good enough. So, it's not interfering. Competition is great, but we teach them that it's about the growth and about representing, the school. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's an amazing thing. Go ahead, Paul.
Could I formally request that the board support, without taking a vote, but that the board support asking the town administrator to have a conversation, as I'm sure he has so many free moments, with the superintendent, to have a discussion about what might be appropriate to put on signs entering the town to reflect the excellence of the music programs at Shepherd Hill. Would that be all right?
I think it's a great idea. Do it for sports, we should do it for music.
Thank you.
Good. Becky and Dave, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you.
For having us.
Great
Not
job.
bad, you guys,
Thank
not
you.
bad.
Thank you.
I'll be going back to rehearsal right now.
Awesome. Oh, Mr. Desto, quick, come on up.
This is very brief.
But before you guys go,
I can't let them get away without telling this story. It's very brief, just because it's so fresh in my mind. Last week was school vacation, and I had a chance to get away for a couple of days with my family. My wife and I were having breakfast, and I had on a Shepherd Hill t-shirt. That'll tell you some idea of how classy the restaurant was. And somebody went by, and I heard this girl say to her parents, "Shepherd Hill, that's a great music program." We were in the Dominican Republic.
wow.
She was a kid from New England, as it turned out, but still, to be that far away, and to have them recognize my shirt because of the music program is a tremendous honor. And I want to tell you that not every one of these kids was just born with the gift. I mean, they work really, really hard. They grind it out, and they're every bit as good or better people than they are musicians. I'm very, very proud of them.
Phenomenal.
Really am.
That's a great story.
Thank you
Somebody
very,
you-
very much.
that was vanquished at one point or another, you know.
You wanna say?
Big props.
Thank you very much to Mrs. Boussier and Mr. Dave McCouga for helping us in our program. I, as a student in the music program, have been shaped exponentially by what I've experienced through my high school career, and I thank you both very, very much for your influence.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Again, thank you.
Thank you, Dave and Becky. All right.
Thanks, Becky.
Thanks for coming, guys. All right. Back at it. We have no licenses and permits. We have no public hearings, but we have a pile of public business under Section 10. 10A, there's a notice of intent by Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, which is right of first refusal for Assessor's Map 210, Lot 17, Worcester Registry of Deeds, Book 52337, page 94. You may remember the same 55.18 acres over the last couple of years, located on Corbin Road. We know that Annabelle Meninsky is the current owner, and she intends to sell this lot to her buyer for use as a premises as a single-family residence and to raise farm animals. Greg?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ruda?
What's the advice of Town Administrator?
I previously reported to the board that we had no useful purpose of the property, and that recommendation still stands.
We went through an extensive
We did.
look at this piece of property, and I'm happy to waive the right of first refusal and move, and so move.
Motion by Mr. Ruda,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion? I think we've beat this lot to death, so let's dispose of this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So I'm happy for Ms. Meninsky that she gets to sell her lot, finally. Okay. Item 10B, we're going to consider and vote Proposition 2.5 override question for a special election to be held on April 3rd of 2018. So
Thank you.
we have some members of the FAA here. I asked them I thought they should have a say, weigh in. We have Superintendent Desto and school committee members, so you guys all want to come up and we'll have a discussion, Ken, before we take a vote on that.
We have two openings here at the...
Yeah, there's a space up here and another one up here for you guys. Actually, Mike and, yeah, you guys, yeah, there you go. There you go.
I work at the school.
Yeah. Can I ever get you tuned up? I'm like, all right, Greg. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, as the Board of Selectmen is aware, the school district is requesting a special election to be held on April 3rd for the purposes of a Proposition 2.5 override in the amount in Dudley of $1,544,333. As I indicated at the last meeting, just as a quick synopsis, this has become necessary due to a number of factors, not the least of which is a state funding formula that has been extremely difficult on Dudley and the Dudley-Charlton Regional School District. Just fixed costs alone are going to take up the majority of that and not leave us with a whole lot to do additional to that. So the committee is grateful for your for your consideration of this request that we have.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Mr. Valiakonis, anything to add?
The language that the board would be voting tonight has been reviewed by the school's legal counsel, and it requires a vote of the board to put on the ballot. The language is standard. Shall the town of Dudley be allowed to assess an additional $1,544,333 in real estate and personal property taxes for purposes of funding a portion of the Dudley-Charlton Regional School District budget assessment to the town for fiscal year beginning on July 1 of 2018, and other than the word Dudley and the dollar amount is identical to what was already adopted in the town of Charlton.
Okay, and it's gonna be here.
The way it's worded right now, Mr. Chair, is it does in fact provide that the The polling place would be the municipal center, and the hours would be between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Okay. So I thought we should, before we take a vote on this, everybody, like, discuss it one last time. Usually we would public hearing this to death a little bit, but due to the rules in place where we need 35 days to get this on a vote, on an election, this is sort of working backwards to today. So I wanted the FAA to be here, Mike and Ann, please weigh in. I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to talk and ask any questions.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The FAA has not actually met to give you a formal recommendation on that, but I think I can speak personally. I don't know, I don't want to speak for the other members of the FAA, but over the last 3 to 4 years, Superintendent Desto and the school committee has done a phenomenal job at inviting us up for meeting after meeting, discussing the school budget, where they need to be. They brought in a lot of experts to explain to us about the foundation budget, how it's calculated, and a lot of the other needs. So he's done a fantastic job on that. The numbers there are an absolute need. A lot of the discussions focus around simply what's best for the kids, and personally, that number is accurate. I even think it's possibly even a conservative number, but that number is accurate for the needs of the school. It appears that it probably only be about $1.50, I would say, per thousand to the current tax rate, which would probably, don't quote me on that, but it's about a rough idea. Is that right?
$1.60, I think.
$1.60.
$1.60, so it's close. That's still puts us still very low in the state on the tax rate, and personally, that's an accurate number that the school needs, and we know with the budgets that we've had that the budget's a strain on the town budget, and I think it's a good time to put this on the budget. I mean, on the ballot, and see how the voters react to it.
Thank you, Mike. Ann, anything to add?
I totally agree with what Mike said.
Okay. I like what you, go ahead. Mr.
Just one more thing, because Mr. Mayotte reminded me, Dudley's, obviously, you guys have talked about it for many years, being so low in the region and being able to raise tax revenue, and the school committee did some calculations. Of all the districts, single town and regional, in central Mass, we're the lowest per pupil expenditure. And this is a large number, and so it would be reasonable for somebody to look at the number and say, wow, that's a lot of money, why do you need so much? If this were successful in both towns and the school district added $3 million to its budget, we would still only be ahead of one other district, Douglas, and by only like $40 a kid or something like that, and we would still be $15 million a year from the state average. That means that to spend at the state average per pupil, we would have to add $15 million more annually to our budget. So both the town of Dudley and the school district, we feel, have done a nice job of managing their resources and getting a great result with very little, and I think it's just time that we have to take this on and try to move forward, both entities.
Fair enough. I want to point out something that Mike said. This is being positioned and sold as it is for the kids. It's, in the past when we've tried to do this, it's always been about more mechanical type things, and part of that is true, but this time, if we have to pay the piper, the state says this has to happen, and it's got to come from somewhere. And this is something that we really need to do. So, Paul, Kerry, Jay? Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to vote, obviously, I've said this before publicly, I am going to vote for this to be placed in front of the voters of Dudley. We've always allowed the voters in Dudley to voice their opinion.
Yep.
No one likes to vote to tax themselves, but we're behind the 8 ball. So I'm going to vote that when the time comes, I hope tonight, I will support what you said, and I will vote to put this in front of the people on April 3rd, and the vote to be conducted in Town Hall. But I also want, because I've always dealt from the top of the deck when someone gives me the cards. I'm also going to make a motion after this vote that this board formally request, and this is not a political request, this is a practical one, that this board formally request that our two legislators file legislation on behalf of Dudley to acknowledge that we were one of the lowest tax rates in the state when Prop 2.5 went into effect, and for them to require us to keep playing catch-up financially is inappropriate, and that the state ought to provide us some relief. I do intend to make that motion, and I certainly hope it'll pass this board.
Terry?
Nope, I'm good.
Certainly, I'm going to vote to support this without hesitation, particularly with Mr. Mayott's endorsement.
High praise indeed.
Someone had to say it.
But I see Mr. Breyer back there, and I think about the EDC survey, which we did a few months ago, and we always had those two high-ranking, competing, number one and number two. What do we like the most about Dudley? First was low tax rate. Second was great public schools. So now, I mean, as we learn about this plan, we learn about what we want to put on the ballot, give the people an option to vote on. It's a balanced plan. It doesn't look one way or the other. It balances both objectives, I think. So, I mean, that's why I'm happy to support it. Mr. Belliakonis gave us a list of the 71 cities and towns in central Massachusetts and their tax rates. 71 or 74?
71.
71. So Dudley is currently number 71 out of 71. We have the lowest tax rate in central Massachusetts. The nearest town that even comes close is Webster. If we pass this override, it brings us from 71 to number 64, with Webster being number 54. So it's 10 towns between us and a bordering town. This creates more of a balance. So I'm 100% in favor of putting this on the ballot, and I will support it.
Even at that rate, Dudley is still a tremendous value. And I've said it before, there's, with how much we pay in taxes and having great schools, it's like a teeter-totter. It's got to be balanced, and I think we're still balanced passing this.
Great.
Could I just throw one more comment in? I can't speak to enough as to the benefit of this program. Not only will it help the schools, which are in dire need of funding, but it'll also help municipal departments and town services. And the reason why I say that is beneath the waterline is something called the minimum education funding requirement, which in this case goes up a little bit, about $380,000 next year. Dudley raises in total under Proposition 2.5 about $500,000. So realize that nearly every dollar that we will raise will go to meet the minimum funding, and the schools will still be falling further behind because it's simply a Band-Aid to the problem that's already there. But what will continue to happen is we will not have sufficient funds to fund town services. And town services will suffer in the long haul along with the school department. So I think it's appropriate. I think it addresses the funding for the schools, but it also goes a long way to addressing funding challenges that we face on the town side also.
Okay, well said, Greg.
So what, Mr. Chairman, what does the town administrator recommend for language for this vote?
Exactly as is in the board's packet this evening, which is the same language that was provided to us through the school committee vote.
You want that all read into the motion?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Before we do that, anybody else have anything they want to add to the discussion before we do that? Since there's people listening and...
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, Southbridge is actually 54, Webster is 46.
46, okay.
Mr. Chairman, we got some.
Okay, oh, come on. You can.
Good evening. My name is Tom Morelli. and I am a candidate for state senate here in this district. I've been listening to the conversation you guys have had about this issue for a while, and I think it's apparent that Dudley is the victim of a Chapter 70 funding formula, which is severely outdated and I think is in severe need of fixing. I've made fixing this formula a cornerstone of my campaign, and I would love to talk with officials involved in town to find out how exactly it's affected Dudley. I would be happy to meet with you guys after this meeting is set up.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ruda.
So, thanks for coming in tonight, and we'll certainly have a candidates night where you'll have the opportunity to
Absolutely.
come back and give your opponent equal time as well. We certainly appreciate you coming in tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I look forward to meeting you all
Thank you. Thanks,
more
Tom.
closely as well.
Thanks, Tom. All right, school committee, anything else to add? Okay. Yep.
So would, I want to be clear, that is an appropriate motion that, tell me what the appropriate motion would be, Greg, please.
First would be to schedule a special election on April 3rd, 2018. And then further, shall the town of Dudley be allowed to assess an additional $1,544,333, et cetera, for the purposes as included in the motion this evening.
All right.
So moved.
You ready?
Go ahead, Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that the town of Dudley authorize a special election on April 3rd, 2018, specifically within normal hours, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., I believe, at the Dudley Town Hall, specifically to respond to the question, shall the town of Dudley be allowed to assess an additional $1,544,333 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding a portion of the Dudley Charlton Regional School District budget assessment to the town for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Any other discussion?
I love these.
Hearing none, all in favor?
All you.
Can I
Aye.
ask for a roll call vote,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
You can.
John Ruda, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Terry Sigenovich, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Okay, 4-0. Okay, well, there we go. We're gonna have that on the ballot on April 3rd. So let's get to work and make sure everybody is educated and understands why this is so important. So thanks to the FAA for their hard work to always, watch to make sure that the right things happen as well. So thank you,
Chairman, before
Superintendent.
they leave, I'd like to make a motion,
Yeah.
if I may. I'd like to move that the Board of Selectmen formally and in writing request of our two representatives, a state rep and our and our state senator, that they actively support and file legislation providing relief for the town of Dudley from the education formula in consideration of the fact that the town of Dudley is being punished for having one of the lowest tax rates in the state when Proposition 2.5 went into effect.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any other discussion?
I support it. I don't necessarily agree with the wording that we're being.
Is there something you'd like to suggest for
Well,
change,
we screwed up
TJ?
when we set the tax rate when 2.5.
I beg your pardon?
I think we screwed up when we set the tax rate way back when 2.5 passed.
But of course,
We
that
said it,
was
we
not
assessed
known
it
to
way too
anybody
low.
prior to Prop 2.5 going into effect.
Takes
The
time.
fact is, the town's being punished with this catch-up formula. That's the only intent of my formal request for relief.
Okay.
Okay.
I want the relief.
Yeah,
happy.
we have to do it. They should. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Paul. 3 of those.
That's
Okay.
yours.
Thank you. All right, next, so thank you,
Thank you.
Greg. Thank you, FAA.
Thank you so much for your
School
support.
committee. Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Students first. Okay. Our good friend John Breyer is here tonight. He's here to report to the board on regarding, he's been talking with our state auditor.
Yeah, I'm here officially as the chairman of the Economic Development Committee. As you know, we've been building the economic development plan, and one of the things that we're really trying to do is to make sure that we're not treating symptoms and that we're actually treating what's causing the issue. And Jonathan hit it on the head a little earlier, right? The number 2 assets of the town in the survey were low tax rate and the school system. And you know, I sort of liken it to a patient that goes into a doctor's office and says, you know, I have a splitting headache, you know, and so the doctor gives him an aspirin, right? I have inflammation, you know, on my side, you know, tells him get ice. But no one ever actually tries to take out the nail that's causing the pain. Universally across Massachusetts, the school districts are having problems. There's simply not enough funds. And more is asked of the school systems, and less of the money's there to support it, right? Teachers aren't just teachers anymore. They're counselors, they're babysitters, very often they're parents, you know, to some degree. And you look at more and more what the schools are demanded to do, the money's simply not there. And then you have, of course, the court-ordered mandates and the things that they must do in order for equal access to education across the board. We had put a survey question out about what would you think about having 2 tax rates, one for the schools and one for the town. Many municipalities across the country do this, and basically you make the school a taxation authority, but still subject to Prop 2.5 regs. And overwhelmingly, the response was very favorable to that. At the time the survey came out, the state auditor had actually released a very comprehensive report about regional school districts and the challenges and a lot of the problems, especially with the funding and the formulas, right? They're supposed to be paying 100% of this, they're paying 70% of that. You heard the superintendent say that really, just to be level, $15 million more. So until we actually deal with the problem, which in this case, the nail is the state. It is the whole education funding formula and everything else. Everything else is moot. We're just going to constantly be treating symptoms, and 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to be coming back for more and more and more money because the schools have been asked to do more and more things, and simply the money's not there, it's being spent on other things. So we sensed an opportunity at the Economic Development Committee to really maybe work with the state auditor on this and come up with a bipartisan approach, driven by the ground up with the state auditor as kind of being the coach and the guide to let's deal with this issue once and for all on a statewide level. And so I spoke with Ben Tafoya, who was actually the author of that report for the state auditor's office. And I gave him some background on the difficulties that Dudley and Charlton are having in the school district. Even told him that Charlton had considered doing a survey or a study to see about leaving the school district, which we think, my personal opinion, would be catastrophic. I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, there's benefits for regionalization, and I could sense from Ben's reaction that he too thought that that would be moving in the wrong direction. And so in speaking with the auditor, what they would like you to do is to formally request, and we'll work it through Greg. All I'm doing is facilitating this. But Greg would be the point where you're formally requesting to sit down with the state auditor and develop a comprehensive program for education funding reform for the state. And then what they will do is they will send somebody out here, and we'll sit down with the school committee, the Charlton Board of Selectmen, yourselves, and see if we can actually get something done. And maybe it starts here. And then maybe what we also consider doing is suing the state. The same way they're suing opiate manufacturers, let's sue the state. Make them pay what they're responsible to pay, what they simply haven't been paying. So I think if we do a two-prong approach where we're suing the state, so we're playing hardball there, but we're also working on a bipartisan approach across the state, maybe we could actually get something done and fix the formula for good, so that we're not having these discussions 5 or 10 years from now. So the request officially here is for you to do a formal outreach to the state auditor, asking for their involvement and their guidance, and make Greg as your point person. And I told the state auditor's office I'd have something to them on Wednesday. And then from there, we'll see if we can get something happen.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move.
Mr. Joseph.
Once again, great research, John. Once again. I'm going to move that we instruct the town administrator to set up an appointment with the State Revenue Department,
State auditor.
the State Auditor's Office, for a joint meeting locally with the Dudley Board of Selectmen, Charlton Board of Selectmen, the school committee, and any other people he deems appropriate for the purpose of discussing the school funding formula. You want that? Or what do you want it to be? The
For
final word.
discussing the state auditor's regional school district report and developing a long-term permanent solution to the funding issues.
For the purpose of discussing or trying to arrive at a long-term funding proposal for the town of Dudley, for the towns of Dudley and Charlton.
I wouldn't even say for the towns of Dudley and Charlton.
No,
I
for the
think-
regional?
I think I think this could be something that other regional school districts could jump on board as well. Come up
Okay.
with a long-term education funding formula that works.
All right, so to discuss the long-term funding formula for the towns of Dudley and Charlton in, as they relate to the Shepherd Hill Regional School District, and to invite any other regional town, regional school systems as appropriate.
Motion by Mr. Joseph.
Before I second it, is that okay?
I think we're overthinking it.
Sorry?
I think we're overthinking it. I hate to
Go ahead, come on.
simply mention Dudley and Charlton here, all right? But to authorize the town administrator, Greg Balcones, to facilitate a meeting between the Dudley Board of Selectmen, the Charlton Board of Selectmen, the regional school districts, and any other interested parties to develop a long-term solution to
All right,
the
all right,
education
so-
funding
all right,
issues.
so where do we go off on that?
So moved?
So moved.
Just wanna know
Motion
where
by
we go
Mr.
off.
Sigenovich. Is there a
Where do we
second?
go off on that, John?
By being specific,
You like
as
that?
it relates to Shepherd Hill and...
Does that count?
Okay,
It
all right,
does.
that's fine.
that count?
I accept that suggestion.
I said
Mo-
so
Motion
moved.
by Mr. Sigenovich.
I made
Is
the
it-
motion. He had a motion on the floor.
Oh, yeah, Paul's. So, okay. Is there a second on Paul's?
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
So I accept that suggestion, and the second is suggested, so now we're ready to go.
It's changed. Okay. Get it, Michelle?
So it's the way
It's the way he
John
just
had
said
said.
it.
Yep.
You got that, Michelle? All right, Greg has it. All right.
Yeah, John will give you the final wording on it.
Any other discussion on it?
I think we need to involve our legislative delegation, because you talk about
That meeting,
lawsuits and everything else.
exactly.
These are not rocks that we haven't stepped on
Well-
2 or 3 years ago and continued. This is like not a new thing.
Right, and
We've tried
yeah.
to consider a lawsuit, we've looked at wording, we've been in touch with the auditor's office. And there are there's actually language in the funding formula in the bill. It says things like local mandates notwithstanding and that sort of thing that negates the ability to sue. So I don't want to leave anybody here with the impression that we're coming out guns blazing suing the state, because there are things that we don't need to waste time on. So we should invite Representative Durant, Senator Fatman to be part of the conversation so that we can eliminate that which we know is not going to work to begin with.
Yeah, and I think the way the motion was worded, and any other individuals
Yeah.
that the town administrator think beneficial, I certainly agree that having the legislators part of this, again, it's got to be bipartisan. It's got to be
Absolutely
ground up.
does.
Well, and you said it's a two-prong. It's actually a three-prong based on Paul's motion earlier, right, about going to try to, file some legislation, which will probably be next term now, to do
Yeah,
that.
we refuse to lay down and bar like
Yeah.
a lamb in the field.
No, it's all good. It's what's that, holistic
Greg
approach.
has something.
Yeah, just a comment. I think there was an article that was in the Worcester paper within the last week or so about the city of Worcester banding together with other cities and urban districts to sue the state. And someone asked me, well, doesn't Dudley want to join that? And I said, no. And the reason why we don't want to join it is we have very different needs. But if you look at a Worcester, they don't even tax to Prop 2.5.
Nope.
So they leave almost $10 million on the table every year that they could fund through taxation that they choose not to do for
Because their
political
tax rate's so
reasons.
high.
For whatever reasons,
Yeah.
they are allowed to do that underneath Proposition 2.5, and they make a decision not to do so. And to me, a community like Dudley, which is completely taxed out and has spent every available dollar and squeezed every opportunity it can, is in a very different position than the city of Worcester or city of Brockton or some of these other districts that
Enough.
want money but don't want to spend their own. So, that's just a comment.
That's,
Thank
no, it's a
you.
good
That's
comment, Craig.
helpful.
Thank you. Gary?
One thing I like about this, John, this isn't phone calls, it's not letters, it's not emails. It's sitting at a table, face to face, look at them in the eye, they look at us in the eye. Maybe they'll see something they haven't seen before. This is something that hasn't been done before. Great work. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? John, thanks as always. That's great.
That's all right.
great.
And if you could
Think
get
we
that
can
letter
get
to me, I'll
Suzanne
get it
Bump
to
to
them,
come
because I
here?
promised them I'd have it to them by Wednesday.
Any breweries
Well,
coming
welcome,
into
John.
town, John? Any breweries? No?
I gotta get a quorum and get my.
You think we can get Suzanne Bump herself to come out to Dudley?
Is that a brewery?
It's not-
Mr. Chairman, under 10C,
Hold on, Paul, hold on, let's,
is it 10C or 10E?
Hang
10E.
on.
We're on 10D.
What happened, no, I thought we just did that.
we just did D, so,
Stephen's here.
why don't you guys sign this, and then I'll announce 10D.
Sorry, Stephen.
We have the Veterans Agent tonight, Stephen Rogerson, our great agent, and some other veterans. There's a budget request that Steve would like to talk about.
Yes, first one, pass out these letters.
Okay.
I actually sent this out on the 7th. Ms. Wade was there. Wanted to select me, let her know my thoughts.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, this is the
Much,
February 21st letter?
Yeah. It's basically the same thing I sent out to 7th.
Thank you,
I had
sir.
to I had to make some changes, addressing it to the town.
Come on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good stuff next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Steve, you wanna?
So basically, I've been the veterans officer here since Rich Hall resigned back in September of 2016. And I've done a lot of evaluations, been a lot of learning. I've been through 2 training seminars, week-long with the state, with the Commonwealth, with Department of Veteran Services and Department of Veterans Affairs. And I basically have a statement I want to read first, and then get into it about the issues that are affecting veterans in the community. The veterans have given much to the community. They've given much to the United States. And Massachusetts is unique outside of other states. In the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth does more for veterans than any state, other 49. We have special programs here under general law that protects veterans and gives them special benefits that if you go, I have a lot of veterans who come over from Connecticut who want to get help. And of course, they don't live in the Commonwealth, so I can't assist them except maybe in the federal side. So the purpose of this presentation is to demonstrate the need to restructure the Veterans Office to reflect the great amount of time necessary to meet the needs of our veteran population. Currently, the hours of operation are not meeting the needs of the community. Basically, there's not enough time. The history of the Veterans Office in Dudley: in the mid-1940s, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts passed a law which mandated that all communities have a Veteran Service Officer to assist and aid veterans in the community. In addition, the VSO also would have another position. I am also the Veterans Burial Agent for Dudley. So every veteran who passes, we give a military funeral. Okay, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Recently, we had a death of one of the female employees of Dudley. Her husband had unfortunately passed away, connected to Agent Orange. I'm actually helping her to get some benefits because of that. There has been a Veteran Service Officer in Dudley since 1946. And the first VSO, if you remember, was Stephen F. Plaza. And he was employed in that position until 1971. Upon his retirement, Mr. Robert Rock, most of us knew him as Sergeant Rock, was appointed and remained in that position until 2005. At that time, Mr. Richard Hallwell, who was my predecessor, took over duties of the Dudley Veterans Office and remained in that position to September of 2016, when I assumed responsibilities for the Veterans Office. At this time, our permanent schedule is Thursday, 12 to 7. And it came into effect July 2017. I was working with Greg to add extra hours. Prior to that date, the Dudley Veterans Office had scheduled hours on Thursday, 4 to 7. And it appears those 3 hours a week were scheduled back, started in 1946. So from 1946 up to last July, basically the Veterans Office was only open 3 hours a week, which according to Rich Hall wasn't meeting the standard at that time, but he was full-time in Webster. It needs to be mentioned, and I'll say it again, my predecessor, Rich Hall, had responsibilities to Dudley and Webster. His position in Webster was on a full-time basis. He was full-time in Webster and plus had Dudley. For that reason, Ms. Hall had more hours to attend the veterans of both towns. The town of Dudley's Veterans Office needs to catch up with the amount of assistance that is now required for our veterans and their families. Our current schedule does not meet the demand of what's to be accomplished for the benefit of the town. I have tried to make up lack of time in office by setting up my personal computer to receive emails that we receive from veterans. Also, I'm giving up my personal cell phone number out for veterans who may need help. Even with all this, the workload is becoming extremely heavy for the hours and the office is open. When generally is open on Thursdays with the walk-ins, it's pretty much a rotating door. Duties and responsibilities of the VSO Director of Military Burials has changed substantially over the years from the time when the VSO position was established in Dudley and to soon after Rich Howard took over. The workload was minimal at best and basically had very few veterans that needed assistance either under programs or the Commonwealth of the United States government. It is a mandate that the Veteran Service Officer be understanding of all regulatory rules and procedures. This is done to give assistance as best can be done to our veterans, as well as making sure that the town be reimbursed for all assistance to the Commonwealth. We generally reimburse between 75 to 100% of what we do. So the money that we give out, it generally comes back to the Commonwealth. And I do it as quickly as possible. Currently, our Veterans Office has many veterans, widows, who need weekly interaction, who are covered under Massachusetts General Law, CMR 108, Chapter 115. Under the law, the Veteran Service Officer oversees the financial assistance program, which allots a monthly stipend to those veterans in need, and this also includes the decoration of veterans' graves, hero squares on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, providing honor guard to burials, military funerals, and carries out commemorative activities related to Dudley veterans. This is expanding. We have numerous veterans whom we assist under Title 38. This is United States law as it pertains to veterans. This involves medical care, involves the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and pensions and compensation due to military accidents, injuries, etc. Many of these ailments do not appear until some years. Such as environmental poisons, e.g. Agent Orange, which we're seeing very common right now with the Vietnam vets dying. Gulf War Syndrome, which I'm affected by, and Camp Lejeune, which is most affected by the people who are stationed there with the Marine Corps and the United States Navy. And help with filling out intricate forms is usually intimidating to people. Most people cannot fill out these forms, and we've been directed that we have to do the forms for them. This comes out the Commonwealth. This comes out of Fed, and even the VFW has advised us, do not allow them to fill it out because it would just get bounced back. But this was not the case 1 year ago. But due to an aging population of veterans and spouses and other factors, we are busier than ever. Much time is devoted to investigation and research and the advocacy of potential claims for our veterans, while at the same time developing working relationships with applicable federal, state, and county departments and agencies dealing with homelessness, which we feel a lot of people feel it doesn't happen in Dudley. There are a lot of homeless people in Dudley. And it comes into Webster. And I think Paul had said it in the past, that they cross back and forth. But it's a problem. And we all like to ignore it. There's a lot of people that like to ignore the homeless. They try to look the other way, but it exists here, and I help them. And this weekend, I got calls as far as Framingham asking for my assistance dealing with Veterans, Inc. So I have developed a work relationship with applicable federal, state, and county departments and agencies dealing with homelessness, addictions, which is a big issue with veterans, unemployment, DOR issues. In respect to homeless veterans, we have nurtured a close relationship with Veterans, Inc. to the point that other communities reach to me now for guidance. The Veteran Service Officer is also responsible for representing the town of Dudley within all local veterans associations, such as the Worcester County Veteran Service Officer Association, the Massachusetts Veteran Service Officer Association, the VFW, American Legion, Polish American Veterans Club, Disabled American Veterans, other civic groups, Scouts, and other school groups. The Dudley Webster Veterans Council, the commander is here today with me. I'm also a board member at Veterans, Inc., which helped facilitate information and find shelter for our homeless veterans. These events and meetings provide information sharing and involvement that benefits the individual recipient and the town of Dudley. We do also reach out to organizations and help in financing needs within the office. And recently, a Keurig coffee system was donated to us, not from the town of Dudley, but from the VFW.
Let me interrupt for a second. Permission?
Sure.
I have a lot of respect for Stephen. He's going to go on and tell you more stuff that he's responsible for, and he does. The point is that just today, he used his connections to help the Blessed Backpack Brigade find a bed for a homeless veteran in a facility where he can get help and treatment. All right? I want you to know that every time I call there, either he's busy with a veteran or he's got a call to make to a veteran before he can get back to me. I don't mind that at all. What I would like to do is and I'm not cutting you off, but I know what you're going to say. Go directly to page 3, you guys. And in typical Stephen fashion, he's not asking for anything from himself. He's not asking for a penny for himself. He's asking for more money and more hours for the clerk. Not even for him. To put that position on a par with what other towns have and what we clearly need. So unless Stephen tells me he's got to continue or somebody wants to hear more, I would ask permission from the board to make a motion to instruct the town administrator to assist the Veterans Office as requested and in consideration of what the current Veterans Service Officer does, our agent does, and to include those increases as available in the new budget process. That simple.
Yeah, the motion?
Not complicated. If it's okay with the chair, I would make a motion to that effect.
I'd just like to say a few things if I could,
Yep.
please, Paul. I'm asking for, of course, she's been in that office 3 years, and she started at $12 an hour, and she has not received a penny since she started 3 years ago. And I don't know how that happened. I had to do a self-assessment, and I did an assessment of her being and turning it into Lorna Wade like 2 weeks ago. But she's still at $12 an hour, and people start here at 14. And I just can't understand how that happened. But there is something else I was asking for, and Greg had communicated to me last week. I'm asking for the office it's in part-time status. It really should be increased with hours so we can handle the veterans that are coming in looking for help.
But again, you're not asking for anything for yourself. For you personally. You're not saying, I need more money. You're saying more hours are needed, The secretary, the clerk, needs to get more hours and needs to get more money per hour. And that's just typical of what he does. I mean, if you deserve more hours, I think that ought to be in the budget. If it's you or, you know, a part-time person,
Yeah,
fine.
if you look at the other towns, if you look at Webster, Webster has a full-time veterans officer, and it's been like that for years, for many, many years. And Rich Hall was actually the assistant there, you know. And if you look at some of the other towns, like Southbridge is amazing. They have a and Charlton and Southbridge are together. Southbridge is full-time, and full-time person covering Charlton as well. Charlton's, I think, will be a smaller town than Dudley. No?
Bigger.
So I'd like to see
Just by
Steve's
population
request.
where they do
Okay,
that.
and Oxford,
Yeah.
the same situation. I think we need to get full-time, so one of the complaints I get from veterans is, I can't come there on Thursday. I can't make it there on Wednesday. The other day, I'm generally there to get my work done. And sometimes Monday, like today I was here. We just need more time. We need the office to be, I've requested to Greg, full-time. The office needs to be full-time. I'm not saying it has to be full-time, but that's my request, that we increase maybe another day a week, so 3 days a week, at least. Because what's happening, people coming in, and I'm at the point now, and this is how I ended this. So I'll try to get to the very end. I'm coming to the point of have to make a decision. Which services and benefits do we not offer veterans? And it's illegal. I really can't, that question, you can't have an answer of, let's cut this out, let's cut that out. Because I have to offer, any veteran comes in there and wants help with the federal side or the state side, I have to help them with. It's illegal not to.
You have a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to second that, and I'd like to ask Mr. Rogerson something. Are you telling me we're the only community in the area with a part-time veteran service officer? Everyone else has full-time?
Not in the whole county. There are,
well-
there are some of the towns, like I know a VSO, I get together once, twice a month with other VSOs in the county. There are some that have 10 towns. So they're part-time, and so some of the communities, they group together. Greg probably knows about this from other towns. But in this area, generally, a lot of them are full-time.
So I just want to make sure I understand you. That was a lot of information. It was all taken in, but I just want to make sure I understand you. So you want your clerk, who's now at 7 hours a week, to increase to 20 hours a week, and you want her rate of pay to go from 12 to 16, correct?
16 seems to be the average in the town, so that's what I
Okay.
thought to be fair.
No, I'm not questioning you. I just want to make sure I understand you.
That's correct.
And your hours, are you keeping your hours the same? There's no increase for you in here?
Initially, when I put the budget in, was the office to be full-time.
The answer is no. There's no request in writing from you in this proposal to increase your hours.
That's correct. That's correct.
But that's not my motion. My motion is that the town administrator work out additional available funding for the Veterans Office through the budget process with Steve, and then that's something, and that we then consider that proposal. That's my motion,
Yeah,
right?
And I seconded that.
There was a motion by Paul.
I just wanted to be
Yep,
clear.
you're
Gary
on.
seconded
Right on.
it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Let's get it
Greg.
done, Stephen.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, veterans, for coming tonight. All right, 10E, we also have to approve the annual town meeting warrant per Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 10. Greg?
Just the board needs to adopt the schedule, which is to open the warrant this evening, and the other dates that are listed on the agenda.
Okay. Need a motion for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Carrie?
You need a motion to say, I'm sorry, I was listening.
To
Approve the
approve the
schedule.
opening of the annual town meeting warrant on this date with a closing date of April 20th at 1 PM.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the annual town meeting warrant that we open the annual town meeting warrant on February 26, 2018 today, and we close that warrant on Friday, April 20th, 2018 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich, seconded by Mr. Ruda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 3-0.
3-0.
Okay, item 10F.
That's me.
Greg, LED streetlight conversion.
So I talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, and the board tabled it until today. I would ask at this meeting, the board approve beginning the process, which is to sign a contract with Tanco Lighting, which is for Phase 1 of the LED street lighting conversion. The cost of Phase 1 is $11,034. And then further, I would request that the board authorize me to sign an agreement with the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, or MAPC, which is the group that is coordinating the LED conversion. Just to kind of say in summary, in terms of what we would do, is the total net cost to the town, less utility incentives and grants, is $118,557, and we would estimate a 4.6-year payback. And we will borrow money, hopefully if town meeting approves it in the spring, and we will use the annual savings to pay back the bond over 5 years. So there's no new money that's needed. The project will be completed in its entirety in calendar year 2018, and again, it starts with approval of the Phase 1 audit for $11,034 with Tanco Lighting, and signing the agreement with MAPC, which gives us the ability to get the project started. So I would so recommend.
Okay.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Ruda.
I'd like to move to authorize the town administrator to, based on his recommendation, his judgment, to enter into an agreement with Tanco Lighting for the LED streetlight conversion that he just outlined for us.
Motion by Mr. Ruda.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion. This will be great. You guys all know I'm a big proponent of having streetlights that work, that'll be brighter, it'll be more safer, and I think this is a great project to do. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, 3-0. And you also need a motion for the other one?
To authorize
MAPC?
the TA to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Ruda, second by Mr. Sigenovich. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Great. Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Mr. Tatro, you're up. Are we gonna find out about which turtle?
Yes, which Ninja Turtle were you?
I am actually Leonardo.
You're Leonardo? Oh, I was gonna say Michelangelo.
I was gonna say Donatello.
Oh.
I
See, we
have the
remember.
digital report tonight with my hard copy at home.
Oh, see, look at that, moving us forward.
For the second time in 4 years, the Shepherd Hill Rams are Clark Tournament Large School champions. After defeating Auburn in the semifinal on Thursday, the Rams crushed the Westboro Rangers in the final matchup on Saturday night, 73-52. A truly fantastic job by all. The Shepherd Hill girls varsity basketball team fell to Franklin in an away game on Tuesday, February 20th, 52-43. They're currently 17-3 and ranked 6th in the state. The Shepherd Hill cheerleaders hosted their annual Winter Invitational on Wednesday, February 21st. 38 teams from across the state came to compete. Grades closed for third quarter progress reports on Friday, February 16th. In the coming weeks at Shepherd Hill, the Shepherd Hill Show Choirs will travel to Madison, Connecticut to compete at the third annual Connecticut Classic hosted by Daniel Hand High School on Saturday, March 3rd. Third quarter progress reports will be issued on Friday, March 2nd. Parent-teacher conferences will be held on Thursday, March 15th. And finally, the annual college fair and college admissions informational session will be held for all 10th and 11th grade students and their parents on Thursday, March 15th at 6 p.m.
So, parent-teacher conferences and the college night is the same night?
Yep.
The 15th? Okay.
March 15th.
Okay, remember that. Thank
Right,
you, Jared.
right down.
All right, board member comments? Jay?
For the sake of time, I have nothing.
Well, thank you, Paul. Terry?
I followed him all night. I'll second that. I have nothing.
I just want to make sure that we have a good understanding of what Greg is being asked to do with the veterans agent.
Make his budget work.
That's kind of what I heard.
Right, I didn't read that as a mandate to come in at a certain amount of money and a certain amount of hours.
No, the way I understood it, you were going to speak with them, you're gonna figure something out and come back to us for
So-
approval.
That's
So the way,
correct.
and-
correct.
And I given some thought to it, given the,
It's a good
the
move.
number of sub-requests that are in this budget, is we would sit down and discuss what his priorities are.
Okay.
And then come back to you with a prioritized list, so depending upon availability of funding, we get the issues that he deems the most critical. And clearly, he's the expert based upon what he said this evening.
Fair enough.
So we're all on the same page that we did not mandating.
I'm not sure what page I'm on. I never am.
Right, we may be, well, we're not asking Greg to come back with a increase to 20 hours at $16 an hour,
No.
correct? All right.
No, I think the motion was appropriate and as available, both
Okay,
in there.
all right.
And it comes back to us for
Yeah,
approval.
we'll
Has to,
we'll-
yeah.
we'll
Goes in
approve
there.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's reasonable, I think.
Anything else?
Works for me.
Okay,
That's
we
reasonable.
have nothing else. Departments, Danny, you have anything? Dean? Steve, nothing? Well, nothing at all, you three.
Okay,
How about Karen, since you're here, department head, do you wanna come on up? She's department head.
Mr. Chairman?
You take it easy.
What else you got on the agenda?
We're doing departmental
Oh.
communications.
Karen, hi.
Settle down.
Good
Hey,
evening.
Karen, hi, good to
How
see
you
you.
doing?
Good.
Well, got a busy March coming up. We've got lots of movies going on at the library. Story time starting up this week. And at the end of the month, our third Easter egg hunt. Yeah, on a Saturday this time because we've opened on Saturdays. And it's been great. The people that are coming in on Saturdays now are much obliged to us. They're people who don't get to the library during the week or haven't been able to. So a lot of new faces, and that's about it.
Good, everything's good?
Thank you.
You good? Terry, you have any questions for Karen?
Yes, one. Last year when I was running for selectman, I volunteered at that.
Yes.
Can I come again? I had a blast, really. I was
You
at
haven't
the
been
door
asked
just.
already?
I'm sorry?
You haven't been asked already?
No, I haven't.
Well, would you?
Yes, of course.
Sure.
I had a blast at the door, counting how many kids coming in. They were playing with a ferret or something outside. I was like a little kid. It was great.
The bunny or the egg?
Neither. Neither.
Yeah. We're working out a whole bunch of the details. We've kind of figured out how it's going to go, and it's going to be Saturday, March 31st, which is this year, the day before Easter, and it starts at 10 o'clock, and it will go until 11:30. Yeah.
Glad to hear about the Saturday.
Yeah, I do see that.
What's that, Jonathan?
Glad to hear about the Saturday hours, too.
Yeah.
That was always a bugaboo.
Finally, I can take that black electrical tape off of the front door where we had to cover up the Saturday hours because I'd be in on a Saturday by myself and I'd hear the door trying to be opened and the person on the other side going, pointing at the Saturday hours. I have to open the door, explain to them that we weren't open. So it's really been great and it's been steady.
Yeah, I gotta say, my girlfriend's a voracious reader, and she's in there at least once a week.
Oh, good.
Swapping books out, so.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
Yeah, she's happy.
Yeah,
so.
no, that was a good move.
Yep.
And it made sense.
Good.
It was the right thing to do for the community.
Great job with everything what you're doing
Yeah.
down there. And I
Thank
see
you.
I see your board here too, so. great.
Yeah, I had been in touch with Stephen, I know he was up before, about maybe having him come down and do a, sort of a meet and greet on what he offers to the community. Not that they don't know already, but I think, it would be a good thing to do for a lot of the town departments to have sort of a little, here's what our department does, kind of a thing.
Nice little round table, put it on the
Yeah.
screen, the board out front, right?
I know when John, is it Breyer? Had done his survey, I had suggested to him that we maybe have, I can't remember the name of it. It's a program that pairs up business people with community members who have an idea that they might want to start a business, so sort of pair up an expert with someone. Yeah. Southbridge was doing it for a little while. I'm not sure how it panned out, but it's pretty casual, and it just it gives people the opportunity to explore business ideas, which I think would be great for Dudley. So that's on the docket for this year.
It's good along that, maybe like a networking event for people, right, just to go and share ideas and job
Yeah.
job type stuff.
Exactly.
Good.
So,
Awesome.
anyway, lots of ideas.
Yeah.
So.
Always welcome. Come anytime to our meetings, Karen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I try to make it. I usually work late on Thursday nights and go in early on Mondays, so.
No,
Thanks,
it's good
though.
to hear you. I'm glad you came up to give us an update.
Oh, sure. Thank you
a
very
lot.
much.
All right. Okay, now Paul.
Yeah, you
We're only
know,
doing
my
the first
apologies,
one.
I didn't see Karen behind the big bodies in the front row. You know? But,
We're only gonna do the first one.
that being the truth, just the first one?
Just the first one. Can you
I'm
leave-
going to move that we convene into executive session, not to reconvene again in public session tonight, and that we do so under Mass General Law, Chapter 30 and 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Roll call vote.
Board
Paul
members,
Joseph,
just
aye.
real quick,
Oh,
let's
hold on.
make sure that you mentioned all litigation, read it as its entirety.
All right? With
And-
respect
And
to...
to admit members of the library trustees to the meeting.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I know.
Oh.
Oh, that's
All
fine.
right.
Oh.
To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and that we invite the members of the Library Board of Trustees to join us.
Motion by Mr. Joseph. Second by Mr. Ruda. Roll call vote.
John Ruda, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Carrie Sigenovich, aye.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.